And we are live. Everybody, welcome to another episode, a very special episode of the 3+1 Livecast. We are still waiting on one guest to join us. We don't know what maybe technical difficulties there are, but tonight's topic, getting right into the heart of it, is all about what matters to us. We know that there is a massive movement underfoot to undermine some Black women and maybe even to devalue the life of some Black women. And we're going to talk about that tonight. And it's a really important topic. There's a whole entire hashtag protect Black women, but really, what does that mean? And who does that really apply to? All of those are issues that we're going to address tonight with my lovely co-host, the one and only Tracy Bonner. Tracy, how are you?
What's up, everybody?
And so in addition to having Tracy join us, we have our young woman representing millennials everywhere, the one and only Laurel. Yes, Laurel, how are you?
I am well rested, prepared to speak on the matters at hand. So yes, glad to be here. And Tracy, I always miss you, so I'm happy to be on with you.
Yeah.
I told Kirk I saw you on what was that, Steel Magnolias? I think it is.
Sweet Magnolias.
I always get them confused, but I love the series. It was so good. I hope they come out with season 2.
We've been okay. Yay! We just don't know when with COVID and
yeah.
We're bracing ourselves for the second wave. So
yeah, it's so good. I didn't realize Heather Headley was the Black woman on there because I was like, dang, she's such a great actress. And then I Googled it and I was like, man. So that was a pleasant
surprise. And her music is amazing. So for anyone out there who may not be as familiar with Heather Headley, please look her up.
Yeah.
Her voice is absolutely stunning.
Amazing.
So ladies, I'm not going to give any insight during this whole entire discussion. I'm simply going to ask questions and I'm simply going to let you guys give the answers as well as members of our audience. We are asking that you guys at home chime in and engage with us, whether you are male or female. We do want you to participate, especially if you are a female, a Black female, but we're going to hear from our ladies. And I'm going to go right into the very first question. And here's question number 1 that I really want to know your perspective of. What do you feel, Laurel and then Tracy, is the biggest or most important issue impacting Black women in 2020? What is the biggest issue, the most important issue impacting Black women in 2020?
I think this is it's really a loaded question, but I think this has been a long issue for Black women specifically, but it has been magnified, if you will, in 2020 is truly the lack of respect for Black women in general and the role that they play in this country in its totality, whether it be in the family realm, as a mother, wife, in society, as a businesswoman, and just with Breonna Taylor in her home, the lack of respect, I feel, or Megan Thee Stallion with that whole situation. It's like across every demographic, no matter where we are, we're always faced with a double minority. We're women, and then we're also Black women. So we have those two angles that are constantly disrespected. Like let's just keep it real. I mean, it's really like a second-class citizen all in itself. And I feel like for Black women in every environment that we've had to enter, it's always a second-class citizenship to whomever. If you go to corporate America, you are like subject to white male authoritarian. Like it's just the lack of respect. I think Black women are tired, and also it comes with such a great responsibility, because I read somewhere where it was like Black women are so disrespected, and then in turn they're often expected to save everyone else, because Black women play a tremendous role in saving, in standing up in movements. I mean, look at Tamika Mallory. She has been such a voice in this current civil rights movement. And there have been male voices, but women have really stepped up over the course of history, Black women, and we still don't get the respect that we deserve or the protection that we deserve. And that comes on both sides of the coin. A lot of people like to argue, well, it's white people, it's Black people too, because Black men have said some off the wall things about Black women, and then we turn around and have to be the backbone of, the you know what I'm saying? So I think the lack of respect and the lack of credit, I think Black women are tired of being discredited and undercredited for our contributions to the world, and the protection that we get is not nearly close to what we deserve, in my opinion. Yeah. And also I just think that, I think times are changing, but I'm going to hold that piece for another time. But I think times are changing, and people are really waking up.
I'm going to definitely probe and push back for the sake of continuing the conversation. So we're definitely going to come back to you giving us that insight into what you see as the future. Tracy, what would you say is the biggest issue or the most important issue in 2020 to our Black women?
I just would say that we're devalued. I mean, all the things that she said prior to, and our value is not, I don't know how to say this. I say this all the time as a single Black woman when I'm talking to my male counterparts about how I am treated and my single friends are treated. I always say to them, white men have been raised to value the white women in their lives. And it starts home with their mother. And I'm guessing because we have a higher number of single parent homes, that they don't see Black men demonstrating love to their mothers. So they don't know how to love and value a woman once they become men. And so for me, that is one of the major issues, is that Black men in particular do not know how to really value us in their lives. They know how to count on us when they need us physically, or call on us when they need us physically. They know how to call on us when they need something done, but the pouring back into us does not happen. We have to I'm generalizing, but in my experience, I have to tell someone. I have to tell a man how to treat. I have to teach him. I have to train him how to be with me. And so I just want to be soft. I want to be soft and vulnerable. And I can't be that when I'm with Black men, because I'm constantly having to be the one holding us up and, being the nurturer and all of that. And I just want for once to just exhale and a man take some of that load for me and value me and honor me. I know I said a lot, but
I think
I'm going to let you two talk about it. I mean, there's a whole lot I would say, but I'm not going to say it.
Well,
So I'm going to mute myself, and I'm going to let the two of you continue that conversation organically.
I'll chime in and say that I feel like, a lot of Black women, to Tracy's point, we have had to have a certain dominance about ourselves, so that we're not run over. If you're trying to make it in this world and I was actually reading up on Kamala Harris last night and her record in California. And she was saying that a lot of times when she was in rooms with white men, they wouldn't address her. They would not, they would speak around her. And I have many times in my life, and I'm only 26 years old, I've experienced white men talking around me and not speaking to me. And I'm like, excuse me, I'm speaking to you, much like we saw Kamala do last night to Mike Pence, which we'll get into, but basically having to state your claim in order to get the respect that they ultimately give to, they yield that respect to other white men and other white people, without there being any type of, preface. But when it comes down to us, it almost has to be established. Like, for example, when I go to work, I always tell my husband, I'm like, I don't go to work. When I go to work, I wear my makeup and I present myself in a certain way, because when I step in front of you, you need to know that you're going to speak to me. You're not going to speak around me. You're not going to, because I deal with it all the time, as I'm sure other Black people in America do. And so when it comes down to Black women, to Tracy's point again, we don't always want to feel that. We don't always want to be the dominant, like aggressive, you know. And for me personally, I recently got married and I love my husband. I tell him all the time, like, I let him be the boss to me because I don't want to be the boss. I just want to sit down and, you know, be quiet and relax, because I feel like in every other realm and in society and at my job and how I was raised, and I was raised by a strong Black father. So my dad was always like, you know what I'm saying, when you step into a room and when you're doing things, you introduce yourself and you use your voice, because I was never taught, you can't be, Black women do not have, like you said, we don't have the luxury of being soft without being taken for like we're a punk, basically. Like we, you know what I'm saying? So we don't have that luxury of being soft and doing all that, because when the moment you do that and you let that guard down in a societal stance, people feel like they can play with you. And it's like, no, that's so I think Black women altogether in every area are just tired of having to carry that load around, where it's like, okay, where exactly can I sit this load down? Where exactly do I sit this down for a second and say, okay, you know what? Because when I'm at work, I'm considered to be this bulldog. I'm considered to be this angry Black woman, because I'm going to let you know you can't speak to me that way. Because for some reason, I have to. Becky don't have to let you know not to speak to her like that. But I have to let you know that, because obviously if I don't, you don't get it. You know what I'm saying? So I think, and I think that the world is set up that way. I think that, you know, the communities that they come from, they're trained that way. They understand, like you said, they value white women and people of their same hue more than they value Black women. And I see it all the time. I used to tell Greg, I'll give you a basic example. My hair is naturally curly. It's big. I wear it to work. When I wear it curly, I get a totally different response from white people when I wear my hair curly at work and wear my hair like this. When I wear my hair like this, people want to look me in my eyes and talk to me and acknowledge me and whatever. Like if I go into the flight deck and I introduce myself to a captain, I'm like, hey, I'll be your flight leader. I'll be working with you today. This, they understand. My curly hair, like it's totally different. I mean, it's unprecedented. It's bananas. So I totally agree with Tracy's statement, 100%.
And then let's even talk about the Black women that we deal with when we deal with each other. Like it is, you brought up the Megan Thee Stallion thing, and a lot of Black women would support her and lift her up and encourage her. But I've been seeing a lot of Black women talking down about her. And I'm just like, what has happened? Because I don't see white people doing this to their white women. I don't see them doing it, period. But it's kind of like, Stormy Daniels? What's her name?
Oh,
what's her name? Stormy? Is that her name?
Trump's girl.
Well, when she came out, I mean, he discredited her, but it kind of went away. People weren't really, oh, she's a this or she's a that. But with Megan Thee Stallion, I have seen and heard from people that are my friends, guys that are my friends, that are like, yeah, but how do we know? What's the name? Tory Lane shot her. How do we know? And I'm just like, oh my God, like what proof do you need? Yes, the mistress. What proof do you need? I mean, did she have to get killed first, or?
I don't think to that point, I would say too, because I wanted to say this earlier and I had forgotten, but I was on the flip side of that. I was really pleasantly surprised, not surprised, but I was glad to see certain Black men and certain people in powers of position in the industry really stand up for her. Like Bun B came out and made a statement that was very direct. It wasn't beating around the bush. He was very much saying, hey, listen, that man shot that woman, and we're not going to sit up here and act like he didn't, and we're not going to sit up here and, you know, not stand up for what's right. And so for me, I really admire the times of true Black men standing up and having something of value to say about the situation and about Black women in general, because it was amazing to me how everyone stood up and spoke about Breonna Taylor, as they should, because she was shot by the police. But when Megan Thee Stallion was shot by someone who is notable, who is also in the industry, a fellow Black man, everyone was like, well, there's two sides to every story.
Yeah.
And that. So to me, I feel like
one little thing in though. Is it really, this is just the only perspective. I'm not going to give an opinion, but that's when you guys think about, is it, because you both are saying
not everyone. No, I didn't say everyone.
I've heard the pronoun. Let me clarify. I've heard the pronoun everyone used multiple times. Is it everyone, or is it the friends that you have? Is it everyone, or is it the Black men that you deal with? Because I'm just think about what I'm saying. I see people. I saw there was a post today on Facebook, and on the post, the one of my former students said, you know, so many people on my Facebook said Mike Pence won the debate. Well, sweetheart, that means you have two kinds of friends on your feed. They're stupid or they're racist, because there's no in between. What I'm saying is it really the majority of people who are the majority of Black men who are this way, or is the Black men that you may be?
I am not saying the majority of Black men are that way, because obviously, like I said, my husband is not that way. I married the Black man that I got matrimony with is totally, you know, different, and I don't categorize all. I don't think, like a lot of my friends, for example, just taking all of the controversy aside, and like when you talk about just dating in general, and Black men and the quality of Black men and where they are, a lot of my friends have said stuff similar to what Tracy has said. Like, you know, there's a lot of men out here who do not value Black women and the experiences that they've had. And prior to me, you know, meeting my husband, I did date some that I'm like, now what's going on here? But so it's not everyone at all. And I don't think you can generalize in any situation. You can't generalize anyone. In particular, with the Megan Thee Stallion situation, I think a lot of the men in the industry who I have seen speak out against, who are in that same realm, a lot of them, for example, I love T.I., but T.I. makes a lot of controversial statements that I'm like, what the heck? You have 3 daughters. Now, mind you, this is a man who has 3 daughters, okay? And he comes out and he says, well, let me wait and see what Tori got to say, because
that's what I was going to say.
Stuff is what I'm personally referring to. And then you had other real men who I see, like, once again, like I mentioned, Bun B, who is who's been in the industry forever. And he's like, look, we're not going to sit here and act like this man didn't do this to this Black woman. Like, if you guys are really real, then you would say it. So it's not everyone at all. But what I am saying is that I think there's a social responsibility as a culture for Black women to be valued more than they are, period. Because when you see it in entertainment and you see it in your home and you see it, for example, Greg and I always have conversations about my daughter. My daughter's 7 years old, and I want her to see, like, okay, this is my husband, and my husband takes me on dates and he talks to me kindly, and we don't argue in front of her. Or we don't even really argue, but we don't argue in front of her. We don't disagree in front of her. Nobody's, you know what I'm saying? There's a treatment. There's an expectation from the time they are young that they grow up and they see, like, okay. And I think that's what Tracy was talking about, where it's like in our homes, there has to be an expectation for our families of like, hey, listen, when you go out in the world and when you deal with someone in the world, this is how they should deal with you, for young men and young women. Because if you have that example, you will never settle for somebody that's going to come talk to you, you know, and the same for Black men. I think Black men, a lot of Black men aspire to be the ones, not all of them, because my husband, his parents have been married for 33 years. So he always had an example of a marriage and a happy marriage and a love-filled marriage. But a lot of people don't come from that. And so I think when you then outsource and you try to get examples from other places that are not exactly, you know, ideal, then you're taking that and you're taking the culture of hip hop and you're taking the culture of what you see T.I. on down to the internet talking about, well, let's see what the folks talking about, who shot who. That is disparaging to me, because it's like, you need to do better. You are in a position as a Black man to speak on a stage to say, hey, this is wrong. And hey, young Black men, this is wrong. This is not how you treat. You don't get mad and shoot nobody out the back of a car. You don't do that. But instead, there's 2 sides to every story.
So we are going to move to the next question. What I'm going to do. We have two more. The next two things that we're going to go to is that one, the question I want you to think. I'm going to do I'm going to name some issues in the election, and you're going to give it a thumbs up if you care about the issue, or a thumbs down if you really don't care. See, is this an issue that matters to Black women or not? But before we want to go there, what you just said, Loretta, I thought about it in the car. I was driving, I was thinking to myself, and I realized something. When I was an elementary student and we would celebrate Black History Month, there was an overabundance of people focused on celebrities and athletes.
Correct.
And I thought to myself, why are we learning about Michael Jackson and Smokey Robinson and Aretha Franklin, about Jackie Joyner Kersey and Jackie Robinson and then I thought about that. I didn't learn about Ida B. Wells in elementary school. I didn't learn about Fannie Lou Hamer, the mother of Mississippi, who had a birthday this week in elementary school. And just a real quick shout out about Fannie Lou Hamer, because her story is really it's resonating with me, because God has obviously placed her in my path for a reason. Because I can't stop thinking about it. It's a big deal. Something big will come from this, because this is what she did. She was all in the politics, and she did a lot of great work in getting Black vote going. She had a huge battle with Lyndon LBJ, President Johnson. Big battle. She won that battle. But then things didn't change. Black people had a chance to vote, and then they started a different kind of suppression, kind of what we face, and the Black people themselves didn't do their part. So she shifted her focus from political freedom to economic freedom. And she bought 640 acres of land, and she started collective farming where she was. She bought 200 low-income units, and she then started to rent those out to Black people. They didn't have to be sharecroppers and live on the land of what once were white slave-owning families. She started what was called a pig bank, where she would give away free baby pigs. The families would raise the pigs and then bring new baby pigs back in to go to other families, so that the Black families in her community would have economic freedom. That was her. And unfortunately, and she was a victim of forced sterilization. As a young woman, they sterilized her before she could even have children. And they sterilized her. Crazy. And she died very young. She died, I think she's only in her 50s, of uterine cancer, probably the result of those sterilizations.
Yeah.
All of that to say, that was really telling, but we don't learn about that. We learn about celebrities. And I thought about, why is that? Because I realized something. Because they put those models in front of us because that's what they want us to do, because that makes them money. Football players, they make great money, but who makes more money than the football players? The team owners. Who makes more money than the Beyonce and the Jay-Z is the people who manage and run the music industry, and they're not Black people. So in so many ways, the images they put in front of us are placed there for a reason. I say that because we cannot look to celebrities to be anybody's role model when many of them lack basic education and basic understanding of how the world works. But yet,
I disagree with that.
Both reference T.I. I reference a man in his mid-40s.
But you've got to look
at his daughter's hymen to see if she's a virgin, as though what he says really matters.
You said you wanted to argue this on the show today. You said let the women talk. And you have,
but I feel like I have a responsibility to say this. I wouldn't say it if it wasn't on my heart to say, Tracy, because I feel as though so often we're looking to these celebrities for something that they're not ever, that's not the gift God gave them. We have Black leaders and politicians and intellectuals and philosophers and pastors and leaders that nobody even knows about. We're not listening to the best of the Black intellectuals, but we're listening to the Black entertainers.
Back. Thank you. You know better than anybody as an educator. Our youth they listen to those celebrities. They look to those celebrities. They're not going to
Why
book.
do they, Tracy?
They're not coming to that.
Why do they listen to them, Tracy?
Because they just have a stronger influence. They appeal to them because they have money. They got
put them in front of them, Tracy.
Houses, they got cars, and so people look up to that.
We need to change that focus.
But what I'm saying to you is they are role models, whether they want to be or need to be or not. So because you are at a certain level, you should know that you have some sort of social responsibility to the people that you are permeating whatever information to and giving that information to. You have some sense, you have to have a sense of responsibility. When T.I. said that the other day or 2 weeks ago, I was pissed because I was like, oh Lord, here we go. All the millions of T.I. followers, they gonna be like, yeah, because they have the ability to sway people. So
I just to add, well, first of all, I agree in the respect of it is not wise, nor is it the we do not want or desire for entertainers to be the end all be all that we all look to, because it's certainly not for me. Let me just be clear. And I didn't grow up that way. I didn't grow up idolizing people that I listen to on the radio or anything like that. That's not my upbringing. And I'm sure that's not everyone's upbringing. However, the reason why I felt to speak to different rappers and people of influence that have platforms that use their platforms irresponsibly is because not everyone, for kids that are disenfranchised and kids that have no interest in standard education or just historical context, kids that struggle academically, kids that are in the hood that see T.I. and that are like, oh, he grew up little rubber band man on Bankhead and stuff like that, and aspire to get to that level because whether they're strategically put in front of us or not, which I do agree to with a background in marketing, I know how things are marketed. I know how music is marketed, and I understand that. But I feel as though because they are in front of these children and because they are in front of this audience of however million followers they may have or whatever, you have a responsibility to these same Black people that consume your music to be, because I'm a Black woman and I listen to T.I. I've been listening to T.I. since I was a teenager, growing up in Atlanta, consuming his music. And he's not to nail him on the cross, but just using him as an example to say that I know better and I'm not looking to him to be the wise, person in my life to give me insight. But there are other children who are like, well, T.I.'s from Bankhead like me and he grew up and he got money and I'm finna do this and that. And then you go and say what you're saying and making it, you know what I'm saying? So that's my only stance when it comes down to Black people of position, and whether they're positioned there by the white man or not, but Black people of position that have consumers who are Black people, who have people that consume your music and your art that are Black, you have a responsibility to understand. Otherwise, you need to go pander and cater to the white community. But for Black people, when that is not the time for you to make those type of statements. And to your point about his daughter, I was equally as disappointed when he made the comments about his daughter, because I'm like, hello, like you don't do stuff like that. I mean, that in itself, but we all know he has an issue with misogyny and things like that. And that comes from his own upbringing and stuff. So like I said, I'm not here to defend him. What I'm simply saying is that this is why talks like this are important, because it's important to teach your kids. I listened to a variety of music growing up, but I was always taught that that's not my role model. Those are not my values. Those are not my, and I had people in my life who were telling me these stories like about, I didn't even know that story about Ida B. Wells. That educated me. And I'm educated. I know Ida B., but I didn't know all of those things. So, so just being
Fannie Lou Hamer.
Oh, Fannie Lou Hamer, sorry. Because I was like, dang, Ida B. was down to the thing doing the pig sale. Wow, okay. But yeah, I mean, so that's why it's important. And I always tell you this all the time. As you being my former teacher, a lot of my education and a lot of the things that I learned came from great teachers like you, came from teachers like my husband, when I see him and how he really cares about his students beyond the classroom. And my dad, who was a Black male educator, much like yourself, who was dealing with young Black men every single day and was trying to teach them about history, but also teach them about, hey, this is how you navigate life. This is how you know what I'm saying, you can listen to and consume all of these things, but don't let it consume you. Like, this is how you do that. And so it's a community interaction that really shapes these kids into what they will be. You know what I'm saying? It takes life changers and movers and shakers. And I'm not saying that celebrities are the ones to do that, because a lot of them aren't. Like you said, they lack basic fundamentals to even do that. But when you do open your trap and say something, let it not be to the detriment of Black women. That's all I'm saying.
That's right. That's right.
You know, that's all. Because IB and them was doing good stuff for us.
And so I also want those of you who are watching, it was Fannie Lou. That was Fannie Lou Hamer, the mother of the Pacific. So I also want those of you who are watching, when we call out the different, give us also your thumbs up, yes, no from the chat as well, your yes, no from the chat. And we're going to start off with an issue that came up in the debate, the Green New Deal. Ladies, do you care as Black women about the Green New Deal? Thumbs up or thumbs down?
So when I heard about the Green New Deal in the thing, because y'all know I don't pay attention to politics, and it wasn't until recently that I started, dealing with Zach and talking to him, who's gotten me more interested in politics. I'm not gonna lie, I have not had much of an interest in politics. I do have interest in what's going on in our communities, but so I had to Google it, and I don't think I don't know if I still understand fracking. Like, I had to Google what is fracking. I was like, what is fracking?
That's me.
Okay.
So I spent way more time reading about stuff while they were talking. So I don't know enough. So
okay, to say you don't really know. So this is kind of giving you a quick summary of it, is that the Green New Deal is a very progressive climate change push that is being championed by Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez from New York. And it really leads to having a reformed, cleaner contribution for the United States of America to the world by 2035. And when you talk about fracking, that's a way of extracting out natural resources that includes water, but that is very damaging to the environment, according to a number of environmentalists. So Joe Biden did say in a primary debate that he would end fracking. The very next day, his campaign came out and said that he didn't mean to say that, because that's not what he's going to do. And he's, from that moment forward, said he's not going to do it. Personally, I think the Green New Deal is ideal for America if we were not in a recession, if we were not going through the economic times that we're going through, because the Green New Deal is going to create millions of jobs, but it's going to cut and cost millions of jobs before it can create millions of jobs. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right now, fracking is a #1 job provider in places like Battleground State, Pennsylvania. So if you say you're going to end fracking in the next 4 years, all of those people are going to lose their jobs. The Obama administration started a plan in the final 4 years to transform the loss of manufacturing jobs into innovation and green energy jobs. It was slowly starting to happen. So as jobs were being lost due to manufacturing, you had brand new jobs being created. When Trump came in, he put an end to that really quickly and started trying to bring back manufacturing and coal mining in an industry that isn't going to exist in 10 years, because he wanted immediate results in the now for his reelection. So Joe Biden has to be very careful in what he promises for the environment, because he has to also look at the economy. So that is the situation with fracking. Well, let's go now to the next issue and see if it's a thumbs up or thumbs down. I know you're going to know about this one. Thumbs up with defund the police, or is that a thumbs down for defund the police? Do Black women on this, do you care about that?
Big old 2 thumbs up.
I believe in allotting the funds.
That's That's what I was going to say. I think everyone has always been, not everyone, but people have been very confused about what defunding the police even means. And there have been several people to come out and clarify that defunding the police doesn't mean, hey, we just don't have police anymore. It means reallocating the funding so that it better supports communities, and communities are better. It's not what we have now, because police have an immense budget. They're not doing what they're supposed to do with it, obviously. And education, on the other hand, the budget is scarce. There's communities that can't even get basic needs to run education systems, even with this virtual learning. Like today I was talking to my husband, he was saying that there's students that don't even have devices. It's October and kids are at home doing virtual learning. They don't have devices to do their work, but we have all this money to fund police acting a fool and killing and shooting, doing tomfoolery in the streets. So I think people need to get really clear on what defunding the police means. It means that they have way too much money that they know what to do with, and they're doing tomfoolery in the streets. Yes, exactly.
And we talked about this when defunding became a thing.
Yeah.
And how I felt about it, Zach, I was living in Brookhaven, and I was like, why do their police officers need Teslas? Like that. Right. That to me is a department that we could go in and extract some of those funds and put it somewhere else in DeKalb County. Okay. Extrapolate and take some of those funds and put them somewhere else within DeKalb County where they really need it.
I just want to bring up,
we need to better train.
Correct. Exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say. The training, the money that you spend on the Tesla could be done spending on the training to understand the not need for racial bias, and understand how to de-arm Black people. Since y'all don't know how to de-arm Black people, or Black people can't make it out alive in every situation, y'all need to do some extra courses on how Black people can make it out alive, so we don't have to go through this.
Yep. And Candy brings up, Candy is like you, Tracy. So how you were like the week we took off, she's moving and she's packing up. And so she's doing the same thing. So she wasn't able to join us, but she'll be with us the next time we have ladies' night. And so, she brings up some really good points about the demilitarization and the needs. Here's the thing, because this is something, and Tracy, you may remember, I said this in the beginning of Defund the Police, that this is going to be used against the Black community in the future. And Black people were not having it. They were arguing. You even had some people say that they don't. I heard a guy say on TV, I'm not voting for Joe Biden because he didn't march, and the Black Lives Matter march is happening right now. People are disconnected from the ads that Donald Trump is running, attacking Black Lives Matter.
Right.
People are disconnected from the law and order message. Donald Trump is attacking the defund the police movement and Black Lives Matter with everything in his power. And he is portraying it as though if he is not president, Black people are going to come in the suburbs and kill all the white people.
Which is bananas.
But
that's just selling.
He's done more for the Black communities than any other president.
Right. He's done. We're far better along. Haven't you heard? We are just like his poster child for recovery.
Okay.
Charity.
Yeah.
But there are Black people who feel it, who agree. There are Black people who are saying that they agree with Donald Trump, that these Black people riot and they loot, and I've heard Black people say these things, not my friends and family.
Not on my watch.
I've seen it on television. So do you think that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris should have not embraced the defund the police movement in the way that they did?
I have to say this. I think it's irresponsible for us to not ever address the why the looting happens, the why the rioting happens. It is almost as if we forget the police officer shot someone, or that police officer got released from jail.
Correct.
And out on bail and back at work. We forget that part, and we really focus on the looting. Well, the looting and the rioting, I'm not condoning it, but I do understand it is a way of being heard. You didn't hear me when I was marching and had my sign held up, or you didn't hear me when I was completely silent and allowed this to happen. So now I'm angry. I'm enraged. And a lot of people don't realize these are these people's neighbors. These are their cousins that are getting, like, they know these people. So why wouldn't they be angry enough to get some attention? Now, again, there are some people out here, and there's some white people walking around.
That's what I was gonna say. I also think that I feel like Black people we always get the burden of being the looters and the rioters. But if you look at a lot of the movements taking place across the country, white people are heavily involved. White people are heavily, and as a matter of fact, it was discovered that a white woman was actually the person who started the fire at the Wendy's here in Atlanta. That burned the Wendy's down. So it's like, don't try to make it seem like Black people, we're just the criminals and we're the ones that are looting and rioting, even if it is justified. That's not the case. It's everyone's fed up. That's number one. Mm-hmm. And number two, I also feel like when you talk about looting and rioting, you can't expect people not to take it to that level. When they were peacefully protesting in front of the White House, what did Donald Trump do? He sent all of these military barricades, he was tear gassing people who were peacefully protesting in front of the White House. And I'll tell you, when they did Black Lives Matter plaza in front of the White House, Greg and I went the week after they put it up. We went just to see. I was like, I gotta see like what is going on, and to be there and to walk it and to see it. They have police everywhere. I'm talking about like police. Me and him, we're there peacefully just walking around, and it was police everywhere. You can, when you stand there in front of the little thing in front of the White House, like you would normally do as a tourist, you feel like, wow, like, am I about to go to jail? Like, it's this cop. I mean, so it's like when you see it with your own eyes, you understand that in America, you have the right to peacefully protest. You have the right to question the government. You have the right to petition the government. And when people do that and exercise their right, you treat them as if they are looting and rioting. So it's very insulting.
You had the right, but Donald Trump is trying to roll those rights and take those rights away for peaceful protests.
And I've been part of a couple of peaceful protests here in Atlanta with artists. And yes, the military was out there, but I was nervous at first, but as we continued to walk and as the longer we stayed out there, a lot of the military men gave us support. Mm-hmm. Like, we would stop and pray, and we saw some guys praying. I want
to point out to that point, Tracy. I'm sorry. I just want to insert that to your point. Like you said earlier, Kirk, you can't generalize everyone. And when it comes down to, I want people to understand that funding the police does not mean that like you don't need police. When women are caught up in domestic violence situations and kids are being abused and there's a need for someone to intervene, that is when there's a need for someone to intervene in the public safety of others, that's what police are for. So I'm not here to say, oh, we don't need police. Yeah, we do. But in the manner in which we have them, absolutely not. There are women being battered. Especially during this pandemic where people have been locked inside their homes. You don't know who people are locked up in. Who are you supposed to call? Who are you going to call? I'm supposed to call Joe.
Crime is up. The crime rate in Atlanta since the summer riots is at an increase, and murder is also at an astronomical increase. And unfortunately, the vacancies on the Atlanta police force are really also is much higher than it was last year.
Wow.
Officers are refusing to work in the city of Atlanta, and they've gone to other places because of the police movement.
My friend left the department, not the APPD. It was DeKalb County. He left. I just talked to him the other day. He was like, "Oh yeah, I'm doing insurance now." He was just a police officer. Like,
this is the thing, and that's exactly it. That's the thing. People who are good people and have morals about themselves do not want to be involved with an institution such as the police force that is getting so much bad press, and people, not even bad press, but getting so much slack about what's going on. Because let's say if I join the police force to really protect and serve, and it's my goal, I'm going to go out here, I'm going to fight crime, I'm going to intervene, I'm going to do the right thing. And then this institution that I'm a part of other people wearing the same uniform as me are killing people that look like me, are walking around, spewing out racial slurs. They have no respect. I'm watching guys that I work with racially profile people on the street, and you know what I'm saying? I wouldn't want to be a part of it either. I would be like, listen, I got this job for one reason, but I got to go because people, good, decent police officers that work in the Atlanta police force, they don't want to be a part of that. They don't want to be associated with that. And also, I feel like it is on the people that refuse to say something and do something about it, like the district attorney, like Daniel Cameron and people like that. You have the ability to make change and to make the image of this institution better than what it is, and you don't do that. So people are not going to want to go fight crime and protect communities and things like that if they're going to be called and be associated with. It's like the bad apple analogy that everyone's using. One bad apple spoils the bunch. You can't say, oh, that's just a couple bad apples. So no, we're talking about murder. We're talking about racial prejudice. We're talking about marginalizing Black people and putting them in prison at a higher rate than any other group of people for far smaller crimes. I mean, it's like, no, I'm not going to volunteer my life to be a part of that. Absolutely not.
It's not enough to put in policing policies without training and plans in place.
Correct.
Like, I did some research on the 94 crime bill, right? And I just looked at it, was like 95 senators voted for this and 4 did not, and 1 abstained from voting. Yeah, I did a little research.
Very good.
As I was thinking about it, I was like, well, they thought they were doing the right thing because the communities were demanding
the Black community demanding help.
We're demanding protection. We need protection. Correct. But what happened was the Black communities had not been going out to vote and had not been putting people in place that knew and understood exactly what these communities needed in lieu of. In addition to policing, we need education reform in our communities. We need better health care. We need more jobs. We need infrastructures built to better sustain our communities. You can't expect a group of white people to make a policy about a community that they don't know about. So we've got to do better now. If we want these certain policies passed, we've got to do a better job at researching our people and really being in the pulse of our communities.
Yep, it was a crack epidemic, exactly. Yeah. I agree, Tracy, I totally agree with you. I feel like I was telling Greg last night after the debate, I was online and I was doing a lot of research because I know a lot of stuff, but like you said, when it came down to like the Green Deal and stuff like that, I was like, let me go down to the DuckDuckGo and see what's going on. But one thing that I really wanted to get into.
No, did we lose her?
Who, me?
Oh, okay, you froze.
Oh, sorry. But one thing that I was really looking into was Kamala's record, because you notice Mike Pence wanted to attack her record, and a lot of people talk about her record and say her record killed her run for presidency and stuff like that. But if you look at Kamala's record, because I read it, I read the New York Times article, pulled up the actual files when she was DA.
You could have just gone to my Facebook because I posted about both of these things in July. I did a very thorough post on the 94 crime bill. I'm going to tag you both in it after the show. And I did a thorough post on Kamala Harris's history as a prosecutor and attorney general, including her accomplishments and her victories for poor people, keeping people, when everybody was getting evicted, she kept them in homes. And she was the first person to do and fight for marriage equality.
Okay, so to that point, what Tracy just said, when you talk about what communities need, one of the biggest things that I saw from her record that I was like, wow, is her Back on Track program. And that Back on Track program was basically saying if you were young, if you were of a certain age and you had a misdemeanor offense, and you had something small on your record, much like young people have, you had the opportunity to get back, to basically redeem yourself and get the skills that you need to re-enter society and to get that expunged from your record. How many places are doing that? You know what I'm saying? You look at even here in Atlanta, where if you go to certain parts of Georgia, a weed charge, you are going to do some time. You know, whereas Greg and I, we just went to Las Vegas last week, and everywhere you go in Las Vegas, I thought I was high because I'm turning corners and I'm like, people are just out smoking. But you come to Atlanta and that's not the case. So when you look at her track record and she's saying like, look, the other thing that I wanted to point out about the work that she had to do was what goes back to my point earlier. She was saying, here I am, a young Black woman. I came into this arena as a district attorney. Then I move up to attorney general. I'm dealing with police unions. I'm dealing with white men who are playing the big boys game and don't want to talk to me. They don't feel like they have to acknowledge me in a room. When I propose something, I get pushed back. She was literally saying that there was the police union there. They would withhold evidence from her and basically say like, hey, we don't have to tell her nothing. So when you're in a position like that and you're trying to make change, you're not going to win every battle. And that's what I think people need to understand. She really came from a perspective of like, I'm trying to do what I can. And I also saw that she would defer a lot of stuff to Jackie Lacey, who was another Black woman who's trying to make her way. And she's like, look, if I can't get it done on this level, let me talk to Jackie Lacey. Let me get her to intervene in these cases. But for people to just say, because I was concerned, because I was like, why are people just saying she just sat back and didn't do nothing? But when you read the facts, that's not true. It's really not true.
That's my issue with Kamala, though, is that I wanted her last night to really take up for herself.
That too.
I missed
when he spoke on the record and she said, he attacked my record. I'd like the chance to respond. I thought she was
going to go in and really say the things that you were saying. I felt like she was kind of timid in that, you know, she wasn't aggressive. And I guess it's because Black women, we don't want to be the neck rolling aggressive, but I needed that for me. I needed a little more Huxtable. Let me tell you something, Melvin.
Yeah. You know,
that episode. I needed that. I needed the Claire to come out because I think this was her only chance.
Yep.
And Biden is not a strong debater. So this was her only chance to really lay everything out. And that's where I think she missed the mark in the debate for me.
But if she would have done that, how would, and again, I really hear.
Who cares anymore, y'all? Who cares?
She wants to actually, you know, this again, when we talked earlier, Tracy, I told you who I thought was going to decide the debate. It won't be decided by the 13% of Black people in this United States of America. This election will be decided by good and decent white people who are going to do the right thing and vote out a white supremacist. If Kamala Harris would have come out in a way that offended them or made them feel intimidated, because they really are, some of them, secretly Karens anyway, she would have lost those votes. She knew we all know that Kamala knows how to defend herself. And we all know Kamala knows how to go on the attack. Everyone in America expected her to do that. She had to show people that she could remain level-headed, calm, and logical, and in control, and not lose it when attacked. And Mike Pence attacked her nonstop.
But is it losing it when you are laying, like setting it straight? Like she didn't have to lose it to say the facts about who she is and what her job is. I just felt like she completely didn't say anything.
I don't think she didn't
say what she said.
She also had to follow the debate rules, and that's something that's a real issue. Is that both moderators for both debates failed to enforce the rules adequately and fairly. And she wanted to indicate that I'm following the rules. The Joe Biden campaign, we follow rules. Right. The whole campaign is trying to show the world that we're the good people.
Right.
And we're going to do the right thing even when it's difficult to do that. And that's kind of what the Democrats are trying to do and tried to do even in 2016. I personally thought that Mike Pence was going to be more of a gentleman. And he proved to me that he's not who I thought he was as this
every bit of nasty.
As this role model. Mike Pence has always kept himself under control. And he lies, but he keeps himself under control, and he typically maintains a composure that he didn't maintain last night.
But you know why he didn't contain it? You know why he didn't contain it?
Because she didn't give him what he thought.
It was the fly. No, I'm just kidding. It was that fly, that insect got a hold of him when you being nasty like that. No, but all jokes aside, I feel like the reason why he can't contain himself is because when you're in the presence of direct truth, you can look at Kamala and see the truth. You can look at her and see the truth. Any person with discernment, like you said, good and decent white people, be it black, white, whatever, when you see truth, it is very difficult for you to stay composed because you know now that you've been exposed. You know now that you've done wrong. Like you said earlier, Joe Biden is not a strong debater. He was not somebody that we were expecting to come out the gate at 77 years old. Well, this is not funny, but me and Greg call each other Sleepy Joe because you know your boy be calling him. But anyways, he was not going to come out the gate and be, you know what I'm saying? So she had to come with the facts, and she did. She came with the facts time and time again. And so now, when you're getting hit that hard, he couldn't be no gentleman. There was no gentleman. He couldn't maintain that. It's all a facade. He gives me a facade. He gives me very much a facade, especially with his radio background and stuff like that. He comes across very disingenuous. He comes across very like, I'm just here to put on. And I think any person with a moral fiber can look at the debate and look and see like, wow, like, you know, can really tell who's real and who's not. And the other thing that I will say about Kamala is that, in my opinion, she really caters to the everyday person, the everyday family. I think a lot of people in America, especially right now, really can relate and related to her a lot last night because what Pence is talking about is very impersonal. What she was speaking to is like, let's talk about the families that's in the food bank line. Let's talk about families that can't pay their rent. Let's talk about families, whether you're white, black, brown, or Asian. If you're in this pandemic and you've experienced layoff and you've experienced unexpected, like not knowing what to do with your kids, now I'm a second grade teacher, you are going to relate to what this woman is saying. Mike Pence didn't touch on any of that. Not one time did he open his mouth and say, hey, American families, I know you're out there struggling. We, as the coronavirus task force person, I'm trying to get the stimulus money out here. I'm trying to get you relief. I thought he was going to speak about this talks in Congress about the stimulus money for families that are struggling. Not one time did he mention the fact a lot of families are watching the news like, when are we going to get this stimulus money? They're depending on unemployment to pay their bills and things like that. And not one time did this man open his mouth and say, hey, I'm here to assure you that right now, the reason why you want to go with me is because we're working on X, Y, and Z to help your family. No, all that other stuff you talking about, that's not help. That's not appealing to the American people right now in the state that we're in economic trouble, in all kind of trouble. We're in trouble in foreign land. We're in trouble in our economy. We're in trouble in people losing their homes. Nobody's trying to listen to what you're talking about. Like it's not of substance. It's not of relevance.
Kiski just joined us. Hello.
I forgot we were in a different time frame. How y'all doing? I'm sure y'all did.
Central time. So it is 9:00 in Central time.
It actually worked out. I teach a class on Thursday, so I wouldn't have been able to get on at that time. I was rushing anyway.
Quick, glad that you are here, sweetheart. It's been a long time, my love.
I know. It's been so long. I got a different name and more pounds, but
we all have more pounds, but I don't see a lot more pounds. You still look just as great today as you do.
Thank you so much.
College. Well, Kiski is one. As you guys all know, I'm a member of Ota Phi Theta. Kiski is one of our sweethearts, beloved sister, and just a dear friend. So I'm glad that you made it. We are deep in the conversation. We'll continue to move.
But I want to make a comment on what she said.
Yeah, she
My
probably.
kids, they're not concerned about everything you said. They're playing to their base. I don't know why they're trying to just hold on to that little sliver of people who have those beliefs, but somehow I think they believe that if they get enough of their base, plus some people who are on the fence to vote, they can use the Supreme Court to get in. I don't even think they're planning on winning outright. They're just planning on having enough of a margin to, use those avenues that they're planning out. And I'm hoping that the Democratic Party have plans on how they're going to fight that.
Well, that's
I'm a dietitian. My background is healthcare. I specialize in pediatrics. So I'm working with moms and babies all the time. My platform really is healthcare. And I mean, working in community health like I do, it's kind of like an intersection of politics and healthcare, because when you're working with low income families, you're always trying to jump through the hoops with them when it comes to them navigating the welfare system or food stamps or public housing, public assistance. All those things come into play when you're trying to help someone whose health is not their priority. Every day just making it is their priority. So we have a team of doctors and social workers and myself who work with patients, and we are dealing with more political issues than health, most of the time.
I would say, out to your point, I would say somebody made a comment just now in the chat and said, why are you expecting decency from indecent people? I totally didn't expect decency from Mike Pence or Trump. I haven't expected it. They don't give me decent at all. So, and I don't think I think the American people know that as well. Well, anybody with some good sense. But to your point, Kiski, I will tell you that what you're saying is so true. And I never really understood the healthcare system or the crisis that it was until my father got sick last year in 2019. My dad, he got sick in 2018 and he passed away in 2019, 7 months later. Okay, so I'm 25 and I'm taking care of my father who's 55, and he's worked all of his life. He was a teacher, all of these things. He was a contributor to, he taught on a college level, he taught on a high school level, just a contributor all around. When he got sick, he became immediately disabled. We had to fight so much to get him resources.
Basic benefits, I'm sure.
Physical therapy. We had to fight. I'll tell you the saddest thing when I really was like, wow. When my father passed away, I came home from the funeral. We had been fighting to get a nurse, a in-home care nurse. I'm like, we need a nurse. We need help. We need a respiratory therapist. We need all these things. By the time we got the paperwork process to get a nurse, he had passed away. She came to my house and said, hey, I'm here to see Mr. Oliveira. I said, Mr. Oliveira has passed. That's how bad, and that's 7 months of struggle, of filing paperwork, of doing these things to get care. So when I see things like them trying to appeal the Affordable Care Act and basically wipe away all of the things that Obama has done, it's like we barely have stuff as it is. So now the things that we do have, you going to take it away to do what?
And they have no plan. No plan.
Question. That's put a pin in the no plan. I have a question. Kiski, is that right? And Laurel, where are y'all located?
I'm in Atlanta.
And I'm in the Jackson, Mississippi area. I live in Madison.
Okay. Where was your dad, Laurel?
In Atlanta.
Okay. So he was here. Okay.
Yeah.
So
and my father passed. It's been a while. My daughter's 8. It's been about 6 years, but he worked at a college, at Mississippi College, retired from there, had great insurance, great benefits. And I mean, he was well established and not what you would consider poor, but I still had to pay, maybe like $200 or $300 a month just for him to have at baseline, for him to have his care. And that's on top of his monthly needs. He was spending all of his retirement, all of his Social Security, plus Medicaid, and we still owed hundreds of dollars every month. I mean, it's really a whole education just to get through the healthcare system.
Well, I was gonna ask how many doctors, how many doctors are Black, and how many Black people are on these boards at these hospitals? And
Very few.
The reason I asked that is because my mom got a double mastectomy about 3 years ago when she had breast cancer. And growing up, I used to give my mama so much flack about being on these boards and you placating the white people. Like, I literally said that you want to be around white people all the time. And now, when my mama was sick, there was a white female nurse who treated her so poorly. And she said, "Can you send Dr. such and such to my room? I'm on the board of the hospital."
Period.
And baby, when my mama said that,
I know
everything changed.
Period.
People were around the clock. I mean, it was insane. And it opened my eyes to why now it's important for us to have a seat at the table all across the board. We need to be on boards at hospitals, in our education system. Like, we can make a difference if we are at the table, but if we're not, it don't matter. Your father could have been this or that. They don't care.
But I feel like in relation to the I was going to say in relation to the election.
No, I said it's 5% of doctors. Only 5%.
And you don't have to be Black to be on. I mean, a doctor to be on the board.
Right.
You don't have to be a doctor to be on the board. That's why it's important. I think a lot of people don't know that you don't have to be anybody to be on the board of something. Most boards have to have a community member on the board, and they have to rotate those people out. So for people who are passionate about it and
actually
want to go through the rigmarole of reading all those reports, it gives you so much insight into what's going on in your community, seeing how much money is coming in, because you will be surprised at how many private organizations get federal funds for grants for this program or grants for that program. These are grants that you will never know about. It will not be advertised to your company, to your church, to your civic organization, and it's literally paying for things and they're giving out outcomes. They're giving out reports to these funding sources saying all the changes that is made to the community, when really it's just going into their practice, and they're calling their patients the community. It's I mean, it's a whole, you can just keep digging and digging, and you will just uncover so much stuff.
In order, so we do want to press forward. We are at the hour mark, and I have just two more questions that I want to ask and get responses from each person. The first question I want to ask is this: why do you think that some men are unable to connect to Kamala Harris?
I think that's such a loaded question, but I will say this. I feel like it's an intimidation. I feel like if they are unable to connect, I feel like they're intimidated by her strength. They're intimidated by her ability to navigate, because let's be honest, she's very educated. She's very educated. She held the highest office, Attorney General, under the United States Attorney General. So for me, that's a power of position that a lot of men, you never have held that in your life. So that can be very intimidating in general. And I think it goes back to what we said about women, and specifically Black women in America. It's like a second-class citizenship. So it may make you uncomfortable when you see this Black woman who is now on a national stage, a global stage, representing something as powerful as the vice presidency of the United States, potentially. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's one thing. The other thing that I've heard people say, I don't personally agree with it, but this is what I have heard, is that a lot of men have felt that she wavers, that they have seen her waver, or that she doesn't have once again, I do not personally agree with this theory, but that there is not a consistency in how she has presented herself or how she has basically stuck to her guns on certain things. They feel like on one interview she may answer a question this way, but in another interview she answers a question this way. I personally do not feel that way. And I want to say one thing and then I'll be done. But to Tracy's point, or to Kiski's point earlier when she said that they're waiting on the Supreme Court, if you notice in the debate last night, one thing that he said was they're trying to push for Amy Coney Barrett, I believe that's her name, to be the new judge, right? I had to go down to the internet and research her too, because what they're trying to do is appoint her.
I'll tell you in my post on Facebook about that too. Obviously, I'm missing all my information.
Journalism. You taught me to do the journalism down to the end, so that's what I'm trying to do. But you're exactly right. And I just wanted to say that because a lot of people, like myself, did not realize. I'm like, well, what's the significance of them trying to get this lady in here, in this time? But to appoint her, but I'm just saying this for those who are watching who may have been a little ignorant like myself and don't know the significance of them trying to push this lady into this position, the highest position ever that you sit in until you die, so that they can not peacefully turn over the office and go to the Supreme Court and be like, hey, homegirl that we put up here, come on, let's do what we said we was gonna do. So it clicked. A lot of stuff was clicking for me yesterday, but I think these are things that need to be talked about before this election, because I would rather people know than be embarrassed about not knowing and don't understand the importance of voting. Because me, myself, I was like, okay, I have a responsibility to learn what exactly is going on so that I can make an informed decision about my vote, because that stuff matters. A lot of people don't know that matters. You know what I'm saying? But I just had to say that because that's very important for people to understand what this man is trying to do. He's basically trying to say, we're going to put our good homegirl in here, and then we're going to say the election was rigged, and we're going to take it over to the Supreme Court. And then she is going to say, boop, he's still the president, and that's what's basically going on. But I think people.
You're taking 10 minutes to answer the question as to why black men can't relate.
But it's preaching, though, right? It's educating.
It is.
Okay.
Tracy and Kiski, tell me what your thoughts on why some black men are not able to connect to Kamala.
Well, it's really simple. She's a woman. And men have issue with women in power. Let's take the church, for example. We have issues putting women in the pulpit. And so that's it. She's a woman.
He Valley.
Okay.
I agree totally. I totally agree. Outside of the easy answer, which is men don't pay attention to women unless they need it. I think that of men who need change, won't change, are looking for change in the U.S., they may be looking at Kamala a little differently now. They may be doing their research on her now. But there is still going to be a percentage of men who are doing pretty okay right now. They may not be broke. They may not feel oppressed. There's a portion of men who don't feel like their world has changed with Trump. And if they don't feel that their world has changed with Trump, they don't have an interest in Kamala, because they're going to be who they are no matter who's the president. So the only time someone's going to take her seriously if they're a man is if they are looking for change and they're trying to educate themselves about her. Otherwise, they won't.
And that is a great point. If you think about it, Ice Cube came up with this black agenda where he had no black woman at the table. And that is the nature of how black men in particular have viewed the black woman. But you came from us. We bore you. You know what I'm saying?
You are the first person we call when you need.
The other thing, to that point, to both of those points, I just want to point out that what Candace said in the chat also, which is like profound, that if you think about, Kamala is married to a white male. So
yeah, I was gonna ask that question next. Like, do you feel as though her marriage to a white male later, because she married him later in life. They hadn't been married long.
Yeah.
She was, and that's a real question. Like, do you think that matters? And especially
As many black men that have gone on and
Correct.
married white women who have been at the forefront of all kinds of movements. Amiri Baraka was the founder of the Black Arts Movement. He went off and married a white woman. Like, it's
Frederick Douglass. Frederick Douglass was up there sleeping with the little lady, the little
So it's like, okay, she's married to a white man. Black men have been doing it who are in positions of power forever.
And
I think women have a hard time finding anything to grasp. You know, they can't grasp that she's married to a black woman. They can't grasp that she doesn't have any biological children. She doesn't have that look. You know, I have a 10-year-old and she's just, you know, inundated with politics to the point that she's trying to watch debates and things. And she's like, where's the lady? Where's the black lady? And I said, well, that's her. She's like, that lady's not black. And I'm like, well, she doesn't have to look, you know, like us for her to be black. She's like, that's the white lady. And she just left out of the room.
Oh, wow.
Kids, you know, what they look like to what they can identify with. So she might not look black enough for some. She might not look white enough for some, you know, or Indian enough for some. So I think she's in that middle road where she's not in anybody's definition. She's making her own definition of everything. And it's hard to connect with something you can't, you know, it's hard to connect with something you don't have to connect.
But to that point, I just want to point out that, you know, when I look at someone like Kamala, it's so funny because when you look at white people, they're not dissected as much as black people are dissected. Black people, we are dissected so much. I mean, from who we married, did we have kids, did we not have kids, did we this, did we that? Nobody cares about Mike Pence's kids. Nobody cares about his little Karen Pence. You know,
and her name is Karen. Do you not find that so weird? Like, how would during this Karen movement, her name would be Karen?
But when it comes down to black people, like Kamala, like you just said, with her not being black enough for some people, white enough for some people, it was the same ordeal with Barack Obama. Let me see his birth certificate. What is he exactly? Is he black? Is he white? Is he this? And, you know, I feel like that type of mentality is a lot of times what gets black people caught up because you're looking at that and you're not exactly looking at the fact that here is a black woman, her father's Jamaican, her mother's Indian. No matter what, she's a black woman, and here she is trying to fight for you and your black skin and your black kids. And so for me, I feel like that is where when you talk about black men not being able to connect with her, that is where they drop the ball because now you're allowing colorism, the same colorism that they have inflicted on us, you're allowing that to impact why you can't suddenly connect with her. Also to the point of her marrying a white man. She married a white man, black. To your point, Ice-T been married to Coco for
how long?
Time. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. So it's ironic to me that black men couldn't connect with her because of that. That's just it doesn't make any sense to me. The other thing that I wanted to say quickly, because I know Kirk about to read me, is that when you look at Kamala, the other thing I feel for her is that people have dissected her life so much, which any candidate under the microscope gets dissected. But black women and women in general, we're not limited to if we have children. We're not limited to if we have married. This woman was in school building her career and fighting, and she held the highest appointment in the attorney general's. That was not her path, and that's okay. We're not subject to, and that goes to another thing for black women. Black women, we're expected to have this amazing career and to establish ourselves, but then we also expected to be mamas and wives and this and that. And it's like, no, that wasn't her route. That doesn't make her disingenuous because she doesn't have her own kids. Maybe she had fertility issues.
Right.
You don't know. You know.
I can speak to that. Being single, no kids. I was married to my career for a very long time.
Right.
And even in that, I would date, but there were men that didn't understand I would be out of town doing a play for 2 or 3 months, or, you know, why is she up at 2 a.m. doing a voiceover? And who's this guy reading for her? Like, I always had issues with people really understanding my career path. And it's probably the same for her. She's a lawyer, spending hours and hours in the office late at night. Like a lot of insecure men don't know how to handle a woman who is putting herself in position. So by the time you meet someone like me, I'm in my 40s. I have established everything. It is difficult for, in my experience, Black men to be okay with that.
I was just gonna tell a joke about about my age, but then I realized Kiski knows my age, like so. I'm just gonna say, you know, everyone knows.
But that means we're the same age, so I'll just jump on the joke and we'll be the same age.
Right, 35, boo.
But I know your age, Kurt.
Tracy, you're discredited.
I was about to say, because you do
not know. I was teaching you when I'm a savant. I graduated college at like 16, just like Doogie Howser. I'm like the Doogie Howser of education. And we still have to do though the traditional up, down, clown, and products we love. Tracy, what did you have? You had a final point.
I don't remember.
It fell out that fast?
Well, I mean, I was just talking about, I don't remember.
Well, that also starts to happen in your early 40s. Like, it just goes away.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. So I'm in my early 40s. And by the time you meet me, I have already established myself. And we, you know, when you meet a lot of men who are insecure about that, she doesn't need me, comes across their minds. And I'm like, yes, I do. I might not need you financially, but I do need you to protect me in from the outside world. That when I come home and I'm beat down, I need your emotional support. I need you to laugh with. I need your companionship. No, I might not need you to pay my bills, but my God, I need you to hold me. I need you to listen to me, talk to me, you know, go on vacations together. I want that. And so I can understand her dealing with some things as a Black woman, you know.
And then when you look at her environment,
correct,
you connect with the people you're closest to, the people you're around.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know how many Black eligible, not cheating, not lying, stealing Black people you're gonna find at the level where she is, you know. So who can get on her for marrying who she was in proximity with?
Right. I
want you guys to follow her sister, Mina Harris.
I love her. I follow her.
I love Mina as well. Mina is one of my, she's one of my favorite Twitterers. She is also on Instagram and she has a phenomenal TikTok. I have rarely met someone who holds down their sister the way that Mina holds down Kamala. So please, if you don't follow Mina, MEEENA, please do so. It is time to go into the up, and I'll keep these all brief and quick. You know, the up is always the good news of the week. And guys, let me tell you what I think is the good news. Y'all ready for the good news?
Tell us.
That's correct. That's correct. That's correct.
What?
Trump won't debate unless there's a risk of infecting Biden. So he said today,
what?
Donald Trump said today that he is not going to do the debate next Thursday because he will not. The debate committee said this morning, well, late last night, that they were going to do a virtual debate. Donald Trump said this morning on Fox News that he wasn't going to do a virtual debate, that he wanted to be there in person. And if it wasn't going to be in person, he wasn't going to do it. So now the Trump campaign has decided to hold an outdoor rally in Florida with this man having had COVID-19 a week ago. And Joe Biden said he was still going to debate. And he's going to now use that time as a town hall that will be televised by ABC TV for the people to ask him questions in Florida. So that is how he's handling it. But Joe Biden was ready to debate, do it virtually. Joe Biden didn't ask for the virtual debate. It was decided upon by the committee who does the debates, of the nonpartisan committee for debates, because they didn't want to risk infecting anyone.
feel
But
like
I do think that is good news. That's up. I'm very worried about Joe Biden getting corona from Trump. I actually think, could this even be part of his plan to get corona, and now let me definitely try to give it to Joe Biden, so that, because Joe Biden is older, I do think that he may not be as in strong of health as Donald Trump, and I feel as though that could be a part of it.
I definitely think we should talk about this morning, because as soon as I saw the CNN push notification come across, I texted you and I was like, oh, snap. But I definitely feel like it is great news, because it plays to two parts. Number one, like you said, it works in the favor of Joe Biden, because now he has the opportunity to do the town hall. And it also just exposes Trump for, first of all, for the irresponsible administration that they have been, with not wearing masks, being down to the Rose Garden, no mask, no nothing. And now you want to hold a rally. So like you said, the press is going to flame him up, first of all. And I think the American people, after watching what has happened with the pandemic, they're gonna literally have the reaction like, are you kidding me? Like, you had coronavirus and now you're holding a rally, infecting other people, when people are scared to even go to the grocery store. So yeah, I think it's going to be like a beautiful masterpiece, because I feel like it's going to he's going to implode himself. Like, it's going to be bad.
You took the words right out of my mouth, because as many people, I mean, if you look at the Mueller trial, all the stuff that has gone on in 4 years, who would have thought that Donald Trump would be almost like stabbing himself in the foot every few minutes these last few weeks? So I mean, he even said on that, I didn't watch the Fox interview, but I heard a few snippets of it in some news cast. He even said that he didn't want to do it because he was afraid they could mute his mic. I mean, you don't have any substance. Your only tactic is to talk over people.
He's childish. He's incredibly childish.
Am I the only person that, though, wakes up every morning and feels helpless? Like, we as a country, we have no say. You know, we can watch this man do and say things that are criminal, that are illegal, that are not true, and he still is able to. I mean, he has literally said he's going to suppress the vote. He has literally shut down the mail carriers and the mail post office. He has done so much stuff, and I never thought that this would happen in my lifetime, and we can't do nothing about it.
But we can do something about it. Even if you look at like those foreign countries that are fighting for their democracy, they will do for that democracy. They are putting their own bodies out there on the street when those people are shooting tear gas, or those military personnel. The one thing we can do, and I was speaking to a coworker about this today, we're going to put our money together and charter a few buses for election day. And we're just going to send those buses out into the community. And all it says is you can have a free ride to the polling place.
That's awesome.
I mean, that's something that we can do. I mean, I think it might only cost like $400 or $500. That's $50 for people from my clinic. You know, what we can do is not look at the polls and see. And I'm sorry, my 3-year-old is up. Not look at the polls and say, oh, well, Biden's winning. Your grandmama got to get up and vote. If she got to wear a hazmat suit, you got to go vote.
Mama,
the best thing we can do is let Biden win by a landslide. You can't take a landslide to the Supreme Court.
And he's going to win. Really, I mean, I'm not trying to give fake confidence, but he's going to win by a landslide. What's sad, Kiski, is that you're in Mississippi and the state has already suppressed your vote before anything else happened. You don't even have to have Donald Trump, because Mississippi, as a Republican state that has been Republican for a long time, has already suppressed your vote, because you don't have the opportunity to do early voting like regular states. You can only vote on election day. So I'm thankful that you guys are doing that. And I think that's going to make a difference. And I also think anyone else in states like that, you got to take that day off work. You got to make that happen in order to move forward. Another piece of good news, guys, is this, and we talked about it a little bit earlier, and that is that the Biden campaign made $12 million in fundraising money for this effort on last night. $12 million. They even sold fly swatters. That sold out. The fly swatter, they made fly swatters that sold out.
And y'all know the Fly has a Twitter handle.
Yeah,
The Fly has a Twitter handle.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm his number one fan right now.
Me too.
But you know what, y'all, Kamala is a money maker. I bought some of her Timberlands today for my mama.
Period.
My mom has been raving about these Timberlands. Like she can make some money.
She can market herself very well. This woman is smart. This woman has a background. She has charisma. One of the things I really appreciate about her is that she has a charisma that really stands out, that really makes people take interest, whether you want to or not. She has it. And so it's like that comes by no surprise to me. And I've been hearing so much about these Tims. I'm like,
I went and bought them today. And Zach knows I wasn't a big fan of hers. I was one of those people who was like, yeah, but her record, until I did like I should have and researched and really, and now I'm really impressed by her.
And I think here's the thing too. I think with Candace in the comments, she said earlier, she was like, no matter what, like we're gonna hold Kamala down and hold Biden down despite their flaws. Nobody is perfect, and that's what I think people regret to remember, that no one is perfect, and everyone has to give an account for the decisions they had to make under fire. And I think one of the things that I watched from Kamala's interview when she was running for presidency, she said, when I was under fire, I had to make very tough decisions. And I'd like to see some of you make those tough decisions as well and stand behind them, like how she said she didn't agree with the death penalty. And she said everyone that she was around wanted the death penalty. She was the only one, and she caught so much hell for that. So it's like, you got to give people grace and give them an opportunity to come to the table with what we need. And right now, we need Biden Harris. So everybody needs to do that. Wow.
And so we go from the up to the down, and this is the old clip from the Get Down, but this is the down of the week. I think this was really disturbing news, and it is the fact that in Michigan, you had a group of white liberators, supremacists, domestic terrorists, who hatched a plot to overthrow Governor Gretchen Whitmer and kidnap her and put her on trial.
That is just a crazy, and I think
remember when Donald Trump said liberate Michigan because she was making them wear masks. These people literally were going to liberate Michigan and create a whole entire elaborate plot to kidnap the governor and put her on trial with possible execution.
Well, will they be in jail during the election? That's all I care.
Correct. At this point, you were failing.
I think they arrested 6 of them.
Hey, boo.
You're right. They have arrested 6 of them.
She did a speech today. I caught not enough to tell you exactly what she said, but I know she called Trump out by name, spoke to him, and told him some things. We'll have to all look that up. But I was amazed at her courage to not only come out and talk about it, and to say that it was white supremacist. She didn't say group. She said this is a white supremacist group, and she said that they were emboldened by Trump. She said that they were acting on some things that he was saying, whether he was serious or not. And I think that was really brave of her, because you don't know who else is out there. You don't know who else is doing it. But
this is what Donald Trump just tweeted. This is what Donald Trump tweeted at 9:03 p.m. in response to Governor Whitmer. This woman found out today there was a plot to have her kidnapped and tried for treason and possibly executed. Donald Trump said in response, Governor Whitmer of Michigan has done a terrible job. She locked down her state for everyone except her husband's boating activities. The federal government provided tremendous help to the great people of Michigan.
Sir, you need to log out. He need to log out. He need to go on down to the bunker, pick up his sleeping bag from the bunker. Because he was in the bunker when folks was outside the White House. He was down to the bunker. Get your sleeping bag, get your little bonbons that you had when you was Netflix and chilling down in the bunker, and pack it up and come on. Log out.
I was discussing this with my coworker today, and I don't know how many of you guys on here can identify, but I'm a traditional, American. I have a mortgage, I have car payments, insurance, kids with all sorts of activities and fees and things like that we have to pay for. And there have been ups and downs in me and my husband's income where I was like stressed to the maximum. So what I want to know is the same thing that Kamala said. Who does he owe $400 million to? And he has to be stressed out of his mind because the only money I owe to is Trustmark. And I'm trying to figure out how stressed out is this man? How paranoid? That's why he's crazy. I mean, I was crazy if I missed the one house note. How crazy can you be?
That was a very key point.
That's holding over your head at all times. $400 million. I'm thinking about a $400 car note.
He's not worried. He's not worried. I'm gonna tell you why. Because he's his own God. And when you are your own God, you think you are invincible.
He's his own second God. There's one more God over him, and that's whoever is really controlling him and their money. Whether we'll ever find out who, but I know it's not an American company. These are foreign people, and foreign people.
I think so. I think he's really in bed with some deep people overseas. I think that's why he's always overseas. He's always meddling in some type of foolishness, is because he really is in deep. And I think the other thing is, I never thought about this until just now, but it makes a lot of sense as to why he is so adamant on having the power and like staying in power. And I'm not going to leave without with a piece of.
Once he leaves, he's going to be arrested.
Oh, 100%. And that's
which is why he's desperate.
Yeah,
you can't arrest. Yeah, they can't arrest a sitting president, and they cannot charge a sitting president. And so I think that he may have thought that he would do this. First off, I kind of believe that the people that he owes his money to made him run. Russia. That's why they interfered in the election. He thought he wouldn't win. That's why his election night party was in like a little bitty raggedy looking hotel, and Hillary had this open, beautiful glass ceiling Javits Center. Then he won. I think that he felt that he would just simply ride this out and then die, be too old at 78 to then let the whole trials play out.
I totally agree.
Dang, that makes sense because then he saw his homeboy go to Rikers, so. He's on
his way.
He's gonna be there right.
And that takes us to the clown. So every week we do the up, we do the down, and then we do the clown. And we chose this image because Donald Trump is typically the clown, but we have made him the permanent clown. But tonight we do have, and we'll always have, a different clown. And here's the clown of the week. Do you guys know this man?
No. That Jared from the
I want you to take a good look at this man. Are you ready?
That's Jared from the Subway Subs commercial. The one that was.
That is not Jared from Subway. This is Harlan Z. Hill. Harlan is a writer, and he's a commentator for Fox News. He's also on Donald Trump's advisory board. And do you know what this clown of the week did? He did this. He sent this tweet. Kiski, read the tweet aloud for us, please, my love.
I can't say that word on TV. Okay. It's such a insufferable lying, bitch. Sorry, it's just true.
So this grown man said this about Vice Presidential nominee Senator Kamala Harris. Can you believe it?
Yes.
I was stunned that someone who is a Fox News commentator, someone who sits with the president, would say something like that publicly on Twitter.
I'm not shocked.
And somehow Nick Cannon has no job, but this boy got a job.
But I'm not shocked. I'm not shocked because that's why I said I feel helpless, because this administration has come on in and taken being politically correct. They took that out the door. Having some kind of good moral standards have gone out of the door. So none of this surprises me. That's why I do believe we need to step our game up a little bit more. We need to come and meet them where they are.
Well, I will say, Kiski and I, our frat brother and chaplain of Iota Phi Theta on the national level did exactly what we want all Black men to do, to protect Black women. And this is what Bishop Talbot Swain, I don't know if you follow him on Twitter, but if you don't, you need to. My frat brother said this. Laurel, why don't you read that for us?
I certainly would love to. This is Little Penis Energy slathered in mayonnaise.
Laurel, read it one more time.
This is Little Penis Energy slathered in mayonnaise. It's slathered.
Pick it up.
That is what
mayonnaise.
my frat brother said.
It's the mayonnaise for me. Let me tell you something. I agree with what Tracy said. I feel like this administration, if you saw what Donald Trump Jr. with his classy self tweeted this morning, saying that it was bullish that they were going to do the virtual debate because they felt like Joe Biden would be fed talking points or whatever. It's like they fly off at the mouth. They have no regard. They have no filter. They have no poof. And I feel like that has been proven. It's a pattern. So I'm not shocked by this. Little Jared, he looked like the man from Subway Subs, Jared.
I mean, but if you think about it though, these people, no matter how much money they may appear to have or whatever office they put themselves in, these people don't have the same education that we have right here.
Correct.
They didn't pay attention in elementary school, didn't pay attention in middle, high, paying for college, and not even doing their own work now. You know, they're just tweeting and having their little lackeys do the minimum of work just to seem like there's actually something going on. I mean, we are expecting pretend educated people to give you some educated stuff. They're not going to give it to us because they don't have it themselves.
I just wonder why nobody has demanded a plan. This man has sat in office for 4 years, y'all, and has never implemented a plan of action for anything. And you have sat idly by and just allowed it to happen. That's what I'm surprised. I'm not surprised at him or DeVos or Bannon or none of those people. I'm surprised at us.
But they hide behind, oh, I know he's bad, but he's pro-choice. I mean, I won't say a few white, and when I say white, I mean like old, probably undercover racists, but pretending to be our friend.
Yeah.
People that I'm friends with on Facebook. I know them from the community, or they may own one of the stores that I might go in, or some kind of way I've talked to them and I've become their Facebook friend. Mm-hmm. I mean, the chats, the comments, they're just unbelievable what they say. They put out all sorts of demeaning pictures. I'm gonna screenshot. I've had some issues with my phone. I just got
send every single one of them to me.
I'm gonna send
me the pictures.
There is a picture of a hooker in the street with a John. They have superimposed Kamala's face on her and put Joe Biden's face on the John with him smoking a joint. I'm sorry. Anyway, that being said, they still engage me in conversation. They still call me their friend. They talk to me and ask me how my kids are. And every day I'm on there arguing with them about stuff. And they always fall back to pro-life. And I have told them numerous times, there is not one Republican who can actually show that they're pro-life, because the only thing they want to do is tell you not to have an abortion, but they don't want to help you when you're pregnant. They don't care if you have insurance while you're pregnant. Yeah. They don't want to help you with the baby. They don't want to help you find anywhere to stay, nothing to eat. They don't care about your education. They don't care about anything. They just don't want you to kill that baby. And after that, you a deadbeat mom and you worthless.
But if you are so pro-life,
you should want to help, correct?
The lives that are being lost at the hands, the innocent lives that are being lost at the hands of these police officers should matter too.
That's right.
Just as much as that baby. So you can't be pro-life and not celebrate every life. Okay?
And if you are pro-life, how hard can it be to wear a mask?
But I feel like that's what Greg and I talked about that last night, because one of the things that was flashing across the bottom of the screen was that Mike Pence calls himself an evangelical Christian. And that's like that's what he hangs his hat on. And so for me, I feel like to your point, there are some really, truly nasty people out here who at the end of the day, their vote comes down to pro-life or pro-choice. And to that point, I love what Kamala said, where she was like, first of all, don't talk about my faith. Don't call my faith into question because I'm saying that a woman has a right to choose over her own body. And like Kiski said, I love what she said because it's true. If you're pro-life, when these children are born, where is the assistance? Why is it difficult to have, like for me, well, people are watching, but I have a child and, but my personal journey, I have insurance and I'm still like, when I had my daughter, it was bills on bills. I still had to get supplemental insurance from the state. And I have a career. I have, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, stop trying to hang your hat on, I'm a Christian and I believe, because I'm a Christian as well. And I believe that life is life. However, you are not the author or the finisher of anybody's body. You're not the author or the finisher of anybody's choice to carry a child or not carry a child. That's not your place. Yeah. And also when you look at the history of this country, you have white men, old white men trying to tell women what to do with their bodies. You ain't never carried a child in your life.
Okay.
I mean, and they will stand outside an abortion clinic for hours in the heat, holding signs that nobody's going to read, but will not help one person on the street.
Again, it goes back to you have an issue with this, but you won't implement plans. You won't put plans in place to help people. When Angela Stanton came out and said what she said about abortion and not having abortions, I said it on this show. I was like, but you want poor and disenfranchised people who are already struggling to choose between having a baby and being able to provide for that baby. You don't have any kind of programs in these neighborhoods to best support these mothers. You're not offering jobs. You're not offering any child care. You're not offering postpartum therapy. You're not offering any of these services that could help these people in these communities, but you want them to have babies even if they're not mentally equipped or financially equipped, or if they just don't want to have a baby. Like some people just
we'll talk about you if you go get public assistance. We'll talk about you taking handouts,
or we'll talk about you for
getting, you want,
or we'll talk about you for having birth control and wanting insurance coverage for birth control, as if birth. I mean, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, you're trying to cut funding for birth control. I saw something that Trump was trying to pass something where employers cannot fund, their insurance cannot fund birth control. What is it to you? Why?
These are the same people who go get their 14, 15-year-old little white girl implants in their arms because they know what they're doing, but will condemn you for getting something for your own self or your own child.
Granted, when you look at Planned Parenthood and the history of Planned Parenthood and where it stems from, I understand that. I get that. I got that. I'm cool with that. When you also look at communities where people cannot afford birth control and need birth control and need contraceptive, that kind of stuff is important. Or even people that are married and perhaps I'm married. I don't want to have 800, 500 kids. So once I'm done having kids, I don't have the right to have my insurance pay for birth control because you want to ban it. To me, it's like the mindset, like people do not think about women and the things that they have to go through with their bodies because men do not have to go through those things. But yet here you are trying to pass decision, bill after bill for us.
But we need to not forget, it's not just the men. There are women standing beside men.
You're right.
That, so it's an issue all across the board.
No, your friend in the comments
are so privileged to the fact that they don't understand, like they have had no contact in their life, or if they've had that contact, they've blocked it out and forgotten how it feels. Like they cannot empathize because they have no point of reference at all. All they can think about is their little bubble. I mean, I live in Mississippi. Zach can probably tell you more, can understand, but I live in Madison, Mississippi. Madison has the highest per capita income in Mississippi. I think this city's per capita income is like $100,000. So it's a really affluent neighborhood. I almost feel sick to the stomach sometimes when I have to go to events and little things with my kids, little Mary Christian and Mary Catherine or whoever, that they're going over to their house or to this, because my kids always come back saying, wow, did you see that? Did you see what they had? That ain't got nothing to do with us. It's almost like this is a bubble. And again, I apologize for my 3-year-old. We live in Madison is like a little cocoon that really shouldn't even be in Mississippi, because I mean, it's the center of so much stuff that happens outside. All the money from Hinds County, Rankin County, Madison County comes to this little enclave of mostly really, really affluent white people. If you look up the headquarters of a lot of companies, this is going to have a Madison address, but there's not going to be any capital going on here. There's not going to be any jobs that come from that. It's all outside. It's a long thing, but that's why they're like that. They don't know. They have only lived in their little bubbles, and that's all they know.
Well,
so, for time's sake, we are going to, we're at 11 o'clock. So it has been a robust and a rich discussion from the ladies. Thank you so much for joining us, Laurel and Kiski and Tracy. I want to give each person a final statement that you want to make and share with our viewers, and thanks to all of you who are able to join us tonight. So we'll start with you, Laurel, and then Tracy and Kissy, since you joined us last, a final closing word.
I would just quickly say, please, please, please make sure you're registered to vote. Make sure you're checking online. I was just telling my husband that I checked last night, and I'm actually registered in Decatur because that's where I used to live, and they didn't switch it over yet. I was like, that's fine. I can go over to Decatur and vote. So just please do your part and make sure that you have everything in the system so that they do not, you don't miss this opportunity. Please be informed once again about the topics. And thank you to you lovely ladies and to Kirk for always extending this platform to be informed on the topics.
I'll be tagging you in my post so you can read about all these things.
Please do. And Ida B. Wells and them and Fannie Mae, because I need to know.
Fannie Mae.
Just be informed. That's all I'm saying. And don't be embarrassed if you don't know something. Yeah. Get into some communities or just research so that you can be informed and make the best decision to propel this country forward. So yeah. And also, I gotta say this. Pray, please pray, y'all, because people say that's cliche, but it's faith without works is dead. So you gotta do the works and you gotta have the faith. And I'm not hopeless. I feel like none of this took God by surprise. And I also feel like if you look in the Bible, you see countless rulers who were oppressing, and God brought people through all the rulers so he can bring us out of the spawn of Satan that we dealing with right now. So yeah. Make sure you're praying, staying prayed up.
Yep.
And that's all.
I would just add to that, vote early. I'm voting early on Monday the 12th here in Georgia.
I think I am too.
I'm just going to get up and I'm going to get there at 7:30 and I'm going to vote early. So if you can, vote early.
Sam.
In Mississippi, Zach, you were saying we don't have early voting. We don't have early voting, but you don't have to have a reason to request an absentee ballot. So in Mississippi, if you want to vote early, you can actually go to your circuit clerk's office, request an absentee ballot, and fill it out right then and there, and they can notarize it and they can keep it. So that's the way you can early vote, is by actually filling out your absentee ballot right there. I think one of the check marks on there you can choose is you won't be available on voting day. I mean, it could even be like that you work 12 hours. There's no follow up on it. You just have to choose a reason why you will be absent. So that's one. My last thing to say is check your polling place. Check it often. Here, as I mentioned, where I live, there's 3 polling places that I drive past to get to my polling place. I mean, one polling place I could walk to. One is right in the center of town. I have to drive past that. It really makes no sense. And it's been changed in this Republican stronghold county. Probably, I've lived here 9 years, probably about 5 times.
Wow.
So, and they don't have any, and I don't know if this is just a Mississippi thing, but they can change your polling place on the day of the election.
That's
so
crazy.
I doubt if they will, because there are some voting rights groups that have set up here in the different counties to monitor elections. But I mean, they changed my polling place this year. I mean, why would I drive 2 miles when I can walk to my polling place? So that being said, of course, make sure you're registered. Make sure you have your ID. Here in Mississippi, you have to have an ID. And make sure you check your polling place before you go, because it may change. And if you're in Mississippi and you need a ride, call me. I'll come take you.
Period.
Thank you.
You will find a way. So we want to thank everybody for joining us, guys. Thank you so much. Tracy and I are going to be off for 2 weeks because it is scheduled to be the presidential debate. So we will see. I know next week we will be watching Joe Biden present his town hall, and then we will see what's happening the next Thursday, and we'll see you again on October 29th, the final presentation of 3+1 Media before the actual before voting day. We won't call it the election, but we'll call it, the last day of voting. So thank you guys so much.
I got a product.
Tell us about your product, Tracy.
It's Dope Without Labels. She came on our show a couple of weeks, was it last week or a couple of weeks ago? And I bought a product. So I just wanted to give her a shout out.
And it was great, right?
Yes. I just want to show you. I purchased a shirt. If I can open it. Oh my God, I hadn't opened it. And Zach told me to open it on the show. And you were about to. Here we go. I love it. I'm going to wear it in 3 weeks when we come back. Yes.
Statement.
Okay. She handmade. These are handmade by what's the baby's name?
Nashante.
Oh, she hand makes these. So guys, go support her. Dope Without Labels, and it comes with a cute button. Her packaging is amazing, and I'm gonna keep it. So yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you so much, and have an awesome rest of the week.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.